All right, Albert Breer writing this about the Patriots' offensive issues in 2022. He says, I'll add that Belichick himself is on the hook. My understanding is Belichick was active on the headsets on game day, having the sort of oversight over the offense that he traditionally had over the defense, and moonlighting as play caller at points, which is why at times calls were late getting in and the offense could look messy from an operational standpoint. All right, here's Julian Edelman today, who was in town to help with the sports book, discussing what he expects from Mac Jones and the offense going forward with Bill O'Brien.
Would you bet on the Patriots to make the playoffs next year?
Yes.
Why?
Billy O'Brien.
What about Billy O'Brien? What do you remember about those first couple of years when you were here and you were coached by him?
He's a tough coach. He's going to tell you how he sees it. But the thing that I like about Billy O is it's going to allow Coach Belichick to really focus on everything else on the team. You know, it felt like little things were slipping away this last year, little details that you always see, special teams, you know, like situational type football, a lot of brain farts. So Billy O being there, it allows Bill to kind of sit there and say, all right, Billy O, I know what Billy O is. He's a former head coach. I can bounce ideas off him, but he can think of the macro now. He can focus on the macro, and that's why Bill's the best, because he usually can do that. I think he had his foot in it last year, so it was taking him away from those little things here and there.
Let's roll. It's presented by Town Fair Tire. Christopher Gasper, Boston Globe, joining us. Do you agree with Julian Edelman?
Yeah, I thought that was really astute, honest analysis, which you don't often get from an expatriot talking about the Patriots. No, that was great by Julian. I think he's dead on. You saw the penalties. How many pre-snap penalties were there this year? Half of the kickoff returns in the NFL for touchdowns the Patriots allowed. I've given you guys the stat before. Since 2021, 4 punts they've had blocked. That's twice as many as any other team. So, yeah, I think that's really astute from Julian. He's been in that building and in the mix, and he's right. There was some slippage this year when it came to situational football from the Patriots.
The only thing to quibble with there is some of the people who were part of the problem last year are back. I mean, is Joe Judge going to be back on this team? Is Cam Acord, the special teams coach, he hasn't been fired, right?
But maybe Bill has more time to help him, which I think is Julian's point.
I mean, come on. Like, he wasn't good last year either. Okay, so we're talking about 2022, 2021.
You're right.
At some point, I don't want Bill, and I know, Felger, I know you agree with this. Out of all the things that happen in a National Football League game, I don't want Bill to be like, you know what, I'm going to pay more attention to special teams because I got to hold up this guy. There are other operations, other parts of the team that he's got to pay attention to.
Yeah, but I totally agree with Bill going back to game managing. When you watch this weekend, so much bad in-game coaching, you know, around the league. Timeout management, clock management, decisions, you know, Zach Taylor having his guy punt down the middle of the field, you know, all this stuff that you don't think Bill would ever do, and Bill would have an advantage in-game against a guy like Kyle Shanahan, except Bill can't even get to the game to have that advantage. Right. And I think that Bill took that. Bill's a great game manager, where a lot of these other coaches are buried in a play sheet. I think Bill took away his own best advantage against everybody.
And you know, here's the other thing about Bill O'Brien that we haven't mentioned enough with him coming back. And I was saying, like, come on, let's not talk about this guy like he's going to be the savior of the Patriots. But the last time he was here, think about it. Last time he had moved up from like a quality control coach all the way to offensive coordinator. Since Bill O'Brien left Foxborough, he's been a head coach at Penn State. He's been a head coach of the Houston Texans and general manager. Didn't always work out well, and went to Alabama as an offensive coordinator. So I think he'll come back when we keep saying, well, we've seen him before. Yeah, you saw the man, but he's got much more experience now than he did when he left Foxborough, so he should be better.
All right, let's listen to it's Sheil Kapadia of the Ringer, longtime NFL follower, and he had this to say. He didn't like the hiring of Bill Belichick. He said, if you're Bill Belichick, you're one of the only people who can literally call any coach at any level of football and have a discussion about joining their staff. Belichick once again settled on somebody he knows, meaning Bill O'Brien. I think there's some revisionist history about how good those offenses were with the Texans. If I'm a Patriots fan, I cannot get excited about this move. I'm just disappointed that Belichick really had an opportunity here to reflect, rethink the way he does things, and add a little creativity. And instead, basically, says Kapadia, he went back with the same old, same old. Is that a legitimate criticism?
I don't think it is. I mean, I like Sheil. I don't know him really well. I used to cover the Philadelphia Eagles. But to me, that's really an outsider's view of Belichick. Like, he doesn't really understand how Belichick works. Like, Belichick was never going to do that. And Bill O'Brien was the choice that the Crafts wanted because of the familiarity, because they know he has a relationship with Mac Jones. So I think there's some overthinking going on here with the Bill O'Brien. Like, Bill O'Brien was their number one choice. He was the clear best choice, so they brought him in. Do you really think Bill Belichick was going to go out there and say, you know what, okay, I want to go get, like last year was the year to do what Sheil's talking about. Go get Zach Robinson from the Rams. Go try and get Liam Cohen. Go try and get somebody from the San Francisco staff. Go see if you can get Pete Carmichael from the Saints. You know, all of those people. Last year was the year for that. This time they needed somebody who they knows what they're doing and somebody that they know can work here and work with Bill.
Gasper, you said Bill is not going to do that. Nobody does that. That's the funny thing about the NFL.
That's not
Brian Daboll did.
Brian Daboll did.
He didn't have a connection with Mike Kafka.
Okay, very rarely.
Yes.
These are 30 clicks, pretty much. 32
No, that's
clicks.
fair. That's
and
fair.
So you look at Kyle Shanahan, you look at Sean McVay. Like Shanahan with Mike McDaniel, they worked together like 6 or 7 places before they got together. So most of these staffs, if you just deconstruct NFL staffs, like, okay, there's a connection.
No,
you're gonna,
I mean,
okay, watch
a lot,
this.
but not everyone.
Watch.
I mean, in Dallas, they
Most of
needed
the
a
time.
defensive coordinator. They went and got Dan Quinn. Is there any connection between Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn? Not that I can think of.
No, you're coming up with the exceptions. I'm telling you, for the most part, I'll give you a homework assignment if you're willing to do your homework here.
I do enough. I don't want any more
I know you don't. But when you go to the Super Bowl, and we go to Arizona, and it's Kansas City and Philadelphia, it's going to be so incestuous of the connections between Coach Reed's people and Coach Sirianni's people, and even from the front office, because Brett Veach, the general manager of Kansas City, used to work in Philadelphia for Coach Reed, and then when Reed went to Kansas City, he brought Veach. This is what happens in the NFL. So this whole go out and get somebody else, most guys don't do it. Sometimes it happens. Most of the time it doesn't.
Yeah, last year, again, was the time to do that. That was their opportunity to do that. And I think this year, they needed a sure thing, and I think he's a sure thing. And also, I'll say this. Do you want to put your quarterback in his 3rd different system in 3 years? At least with Bill O'Brien, there's going to be elements he's familiar with, both from Alabama and the Patriots.
All right.